Good morning. Work week is just beginning. It's a Monday morning, pretty early. 7:11. And I'd like to welcome everybody to Zen with a Smile. Recently, after reviewing my latest videos, I didn't smile enough. I said, smile, remember to smile more. But I've been in kind of a pensive, very reflective, reviewing the panorama of past events. And I'm still in this same vein. I'd like to continue. I remember reading about Buddha's precept, the middle way. And I smiled because I was so far away from the middle way. In fact, it seemed totally alien. But like all else in Buddhist teaching, I took it literally and searched for balance. But boy, would I love to sit in on his earliest teachings. So the teachings that were more or less an enigma for me might be made more clear. Nevertheless, I was always a man of extremes, all in or all out. So obviously, the middle way wasn't even in my lexicon of behaviors. But nevertheless, its absence certainly did not preclude or cause me to neglect an attainment of this, of my interpretation of what the middle way meant. If it would have been called, it would have been translated the golden way, maybe I wouldn't have had such difficulty. But the middle way seemed to be some kind of compromise to me. And maybe after all, that's the point. It's about compromise. Some of this and some of that. The last few years I've had a new interest, and that was cooking. I've never had the patience to cook. And it began by me learning that when I was in the kitchen, I was in the kitchen. Good practice at being in the moment. When I was cutting vegetables, I was cutting vegetables. And I went to the kitchen for necessity, because my tendency to always eat my meals outside wasn't the best recipe for health. So I took matters into my own hands. And while being far from any kind of accomplished cook, Nevertheless, that doesn't prevent me from taking enjoyment from the process. And cooking might very well be the metaphor that helps me to more thoroughly understand Buddha's middle way, the golden way. And I was always puzzled by my interpretation of the middle way meant compromise. And compromise was something that I didn't tolerate, couldn't accept in my private spiritual practice. And this is a part of the intenseness, the heaviness that I've talked about. And reminiscing on this heaviness really hasn't given me many opportunity to smile. But what will make me smile is the fact that I took myself so seriously. That will get a little chuckle out of me. But it's so. And it was as if I was a living example of polarities. It's all in, all out. And this kind of approach to life is accounted for by having an addictive personality. And I'm certainly guilty. Is that the word I want? I'm certainly reflective of an addictive personality. But I tempered this with attempts to turn my addictive personality towards constructive ends, to my spiritual path, my spiritual inquiry, my spiritual search. So I became addicted to meditation and incense and candles. And the music, my blessed spiritual music. But this addictive personality, no matter if it's reflected through so-called noble directions towards sacred, reducing the profane. But was this addictive personality something to be overcome, or more along the lines of accepting, embracing addiction, tendencies toward addiction as who and what I am? So perhaps upon reflection, Buddha's middle way would be similar to Christ's golden rules. Attempts, directions, instructions on how to mitigate the foibles of our personalities. So here was looking at polarities. And this is what I'm here to talk to you about this morning. Polarities. The first thing about polarity, other than the obvious that they're diametrically opposed concepts, I wonder, and I love that word because I'm in a constant state of wonder. Wonder in the quizzical sense, and wonder in the embracement of the contentment, equanimity has rewarded me with. So wonder, curiosity. Wonder is embracing the beauty of all that is. The beauty that we all share. The beauty that is in us all. Waiting to be discovered, in the process of being discovered, and embracing the discovery once it's been made. If there's a secret to life, well, maybe there's two. We're all the same. Not a very well kept secret, is it? This is shared by many, if not most. But the other one is give what you want. And I don't mean want in the terms of desire. Although this unwritten rule works even for desires. Give what you want. And in the process of learning to give, hopefully you'll become more selective of what you want. What you want can become less and less personal. Less and less part of a addictive need for recognition, or wealth, or power, or love, or whatever it is that you feel the lack of in your profane life. Once this giving is elevated into the sacred realms, one of my favorite polarities, by the way, sacred and profane, the sky's the limit. And someday I can see us all, each and every one of us, participating in this unconditional love, this acceptance of each other as kindred spirits, as part and parcel of all that is, all that was, and all that will ever be. So polarities, these opposites. First thing I wonder is, can one exist without the other? And it seems to me that it couldn't. Could there be day without night? Could there be love without hate? Could there be good without bad? And even as I say these words, it takes me to an immediate meditative state where I close my eyes, I collect my breathing, I feel the connection straight up through the crown chakra to the source of our being. And it's reciprocal. I feel this force coming back down through my crown chakra, through all my chakras, whether it's 7 in the traditional sense, or the more modern sense of 9 in the human design concept I shared yesterday. But I can feel this. First it wells up. It finds the source. And then the source rewards. It comes back. It comes out. And this meditative state is all about what brought about just now. I feel like a different man, by the way, after that little or large giving and receiving. But remember, this was started with the idea of can one polarity exist without the other? And although I've learned enough to never use absolutes, this can't happen, this won't happen, this shouldn't happen, to use absolutes will lead to immediate correction and find out indeed that using absolutes is, for me, a fool's game. I'm quickly shown the errors of my way. But for this speculation that led directly to a meditative state for me, is can one exist without the other? And here is the crux of duality, isn't it? And if you remember, my resolution, my personal, it was perfect as well, slip of the tongue, but my perfect personal experience of this reconciliation did not end up that it's all a total illusion. Instead, I learned to entertain by my favorite stretching, pushing my boundaries mentally, physically, emotionally, by intuiting, by being given this gift to see that my favorite polarity perhaps is, or among my favorite. I love polarities, I have to say, because there was so much room for growth within the confines, within the directives of polarity. This idea about free will or preordained destiny. These two were the polarity that I directly was allowed, directed, inspired to examine. And it's almost as if I was talking to them directly. I remember looking and saying, free will. And I'd say, yes, 100% yes. Destiny, preordained sequence of events. And I would, with equal enthusiasm, say, 100% yes, correct. And it brought me back to perhaps what Buddha was really talking about, the middle way. The golden rule, treat others as you would have them treat you. Brought me back to this center. Now, without my brain exploding, I can embrace two opposites, polarities, being equally true at the same time. And this is the reconciliation of duality. For me, strictly a gift of inspiration, a gift from above that came below and led to expansion. And that expansion was simply embracing all that there was, the oneness, the sameness, the ordinariness of our extraordinary journeys. So it's in this, and by the way, just sharing this, embracing and finding myself, yes, 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 and coming back here, it was a little bit of a gift about maybe this is what the middle way is closer to. It's not a compromise as I had seen it to be previously. Not a compromise at all. And instead, it's an acceptance that there could be more to something than was not immediately obvious to us. Had to be shown to me. Okay. And how can this be so? And this leads to the cosmic laughter, because I believe that this is at least for me, in my experience, this was the cosmic joke I've heard others allude to. This reconciliation, this middle way of understanding that didn't involve compromise. I was equally committed to each of the polarities. And it's this commitment I see now that brings the oneness. The oneness that is obscured by duality. And duality can no better be expressed than polarities. And the idea that we're here, opposite sides, but what about all the things between each way? Each one of them represents another possibility for us to see this circle of life, this circle of completeness. So just as all my failures in these recent years, all my failures to attain even progressive or non-abiding enlightenment, much less permanent or abiding enlightenment, awakening. My failures to obtain this through my rigorous adherence, through my addictive lenses of excessiveness, I'm trying to make it a noun, excessiveness, my fixation, my insistence to discipline myself, my displeasure with myself for all my failures. Everything got put to rest when it was my time to learn that through the process of unlearning comes unity. So this idea, this illusory view of the world around us, the world of our perception, the world of our senses, the world in which our personalities, our bodies, our dreams, aspirations, goals exist. And learning to see the illusion of all these things is, or was for me, or is for me, simply a first step. It's a lot more sophisticated than, a lot more nuanced is a better word, than saying, oh well, it's not real. It's all illusory. Yes, it's true. But it's equally as true that as long as we're in this physical form, we're going to have to deal with these elements, illusory or not, real or not. As long as we're in this human body. So for me, everything started by forgiveness. Forgiveness to everyone. But I had to start with this forgiveness to myself to truly blossom into what it's become. I had to look within and look at the thoughts or concepts that I was harboring, looking at what I considered my failures when I wasn't able to adhere to the strict discipline that I interpreted my Zen training to be to that point. This forgiveness, like everything else that I internalize, everything else that I pull within and embrace, ends up budding and flowering. Comes from here, straight up. And a lot of it, the gut feelings, are not to be overlooked in our examination of what we might consider higher realms. Realms of higher consciousness, perhaps, but this welling up from below is primal and fundamental. If you will, with my metaphor of blossom, it's the fertilizer for the flower. The nutrients for the flower come from the gut and below. So it's a welling up, leaving the crown chakra. And I see many illustrations, this understanding is pretty universalized. But what I see less of is it coming back through your body, all the way to the gut. I was the type that carried my problems, my concerns, my failures, my shortcomings in two places. In my back and in my gut. Now I have to say that I still feel something up here. I still feel I'm carrying something on my back, although I've eliminated a lot of it. The feeling of discomfort in the gut is completely gone. I'm liberated from this. There's nothing in the gut to carry anymore. And what's on my shoulders could be as simple as accumulated day-to-day karma. Because even though you're in the process of searching progressive and permanent awareness, the karmic debt will be whittled down, will be made smaller, and perhaps if you're lucky, perhaps if your karma allows it, it will be burned. You can surrender it to the violet consuming flame, which is a resource available to all of us to place our karma and let it burn. But what I've known in this last 5 years since my beautiful recognition of all that is, that there's still karma accumulated as long as we're this physical body. And I think that's what might accumulate on my shoulders, reminding me that through the process of surrender, and surrender means embracing this karma, embracing the karma that comes from just breathing in and breathing out, that just comes from existence. Embracing, surrendering to this karma allows the avenue, allows it to travel to the realm of the violet consuming flame. But it takes a conscious effort, a constant remembering that this is available to you, and you need to make a conscious effort and commitment to letting it go. So as in a lot of my talks with you, has allowed some personal reconciliation for me on enigmas, puzzles that have trapped me in the past. And for that, I bless you and myself and embrace us all as brothers and sisters in a world more beautiful than even the best of us know. Thank you.